Here's something you don't hear every day. Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings. And, there's a lot to talk about, really, when you think about it. I don't know. I mean, they haven't been good in so long. Had a lot of talent come in and out of Sacramento. I don't know if you can say that. DeMarcus Cousins was crazy there. I think that might be it. Rondo was there for a little bit. Anyway, Sacramento, right now, promising roster. As of today, you're looking at De'Aaron Fox, Halliburton, Barnes, Bagley, Holmes starting five, which, on paper, pretty good. That was also more or less, well, you probably go Buddy Hield over. Maybe you go Buddy Hield over Halliburton, but Hield, has been on the trading block and rumored to go to the Lakers, but obviously now they don't have any money, so he might stay, he might not. Him and Luke Walton seem to have issues, which is kind of just a symptom of a bigger issue with Sacramento, which I feel like just part of professional sports and amateur sports, any sports, is relationships. And sometimes off the court stuff can be just as important as on the court. And DeMarcus Cousins can be, grouped in as a part of that, just in terms of the Kings in the past decade have never figured out how to have kind of like the right locker room, the right culture, the right fits. We saw, the Knicks have been similarly dysfunctional for about the same period of time. And then you get, Thibodeau in there, and he kind of has that, grit and grind thing. All the players buy into it. And, they're in the playoffs. And listen, that's not going to be enough to win a championship, but it's enough to at least be competitive. And it seems like that's what the Kings want to be at this point. There seems to be a push to be, at least playoffs, play in that 7-8 seed. And there's talks about, trying to get Ben Simmons. There's talks about going for Pascal. I like Pascal a lot. I think, really weird season in Toronto just as a whole. I think that whole roster was just kind of they didn't have any home games. They had COVID stuff, injuries. It was a mess. So it's hard to judge Pascal off that season. What we do know about him is he was basically a secondary scorer on a championship team. Obviously, Kyle Lowry was a big part of that as well. But really, when you think about it, it went Kawhi, Pascal, Kyle Lowry, I would say. So, I think, is he an upgrade over Marvin Bagley? Absolutely. But that's another guy that doesn't seem to really work with Luke Walton. And the common denominator here may be Luke Walton. And I don't know, maybe while his relationships with his players aren't exceptional, maybe his relationship with the GM and, the powers that be are really, good, and they have a lot of faith in him. I'm not really sure why, because they haven't made the playoffs under him. He seems to have problems with two of their top, 6 players. So, I'm not really understanding where that faith is coming from. But here we are. We have Luke Walton still, and I think he's probably got to be on one of the hottest seats in the NBA in terms of, because there were a lot of new coaches now, so you got to give him a couple years. But I think Luke Walton, if there's this push now to be competitive and they make a big trade and it doesn't start working, relatively right away, I feel like the leash on him's got to be pretty tight. I would be shocked if he makes it another year if they don't make the playoffs. And even if they do, I don't see it. So we'll see. They have, I mentioned Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, I think, is criminally underrated. One of the fastest guys in the league. He's shooting the ball a lot better. He had a couple games, he'd go off, and assist numbers, he can still, he still has point guard elements to him, even though, I don't know if that's kind of like the crux of his game. And Halliburton, I think, relieves that a lot. When you talk about different skill sets, Halliburton, can do a little bit of everything, can shoot the ball really well, can play off ball. And so there's a lot to be excited about with that backcourt for sure. And then, they drafted Davion Mitchell, who I think is impressed in the summer league already, just from like a defensive standpoint. I think, you've seen clips of him kind of lock down guys, and in their face, you need guys like that. And they struggled defensively as a team last season, and if they're going to come back with the same group plus him, and then, they added Tristan Thompson, who, solid guy. He was here in Boston. He's going to get boards and play some defense, and that's about all. And that's all you need for your backup center. So, solid pickup there. We'll see with the 3-point guards. I mean, Halliburton's kind of shooting guard, and then you assume Hield and Bagley could be. I don't know if it doesn't seem like they're extending Bagley, so they're probably going to shop him. What his market value? I think he just needs a change of scenery. It's one of those guys that it just didn't work out. Let's not think about Luka and Trey going after him in the draft. That's fine. I still think, he could be a good piece on a winning team. Ay, caramba. Yeah, he could still be, solid. I think it's just a circumstantial thing. I mean, who's to say? Now, the thing is, like, some of the guys now, like a Julius Randle, like, blow up. Now that we've seen that, and not just because Bagley's, like, also a lefty power forward, but, we've seen guys take huge jumps from year to year, and so there's no reason to think Marvin Bagley can't do that. I just don't think, he's less likely to do that in Sacramento with Luke Walton as the coach. I think that's fair to say, right? So if we're looking at a deal, like, Bagley's not the kind of guy like a contending team is going to want, like, he's a project. He's going to be a couple years. You might need to give him some time, some space. It's like if you're not doing well with the girl. You got to give them time and space, let them figure things out, and then come back to you. And if they don't, then, you trade them to somewhere else for cash considerations, if only. So you're looking at Bagley, like a Simmons deal. I think you're going to need to include De'Aaron. I think Daryl Morey is going to ask for De'Aaron Fox or bust. So that's going to be a tough call. Maybe if Davion Mitchell's like really, really good, you'd feel better about it. But at this point, I do not love that for Sacramento because I think De'Aaron's probably better than Ben Simmons long term if you're looking for, a starting point guard. Pascal, you could get the Raptors to do a Bagley, and then maybe it's Davion Mitchell. They need the point guard, because they lost Kyle Lowry, and then the Goran Dragic clearly does not want to be there because he said he didn't, and now he's kind of like trying to backtrack on that. So they did not get off on the right foot, to say the least. So maybe a Bagley, Davion Mitchell, you get, Nick Nurse, give him Bagley, see what he can do with him. There'll be maybe a little more amicable relationship going on there. And then you have, Davion Mitchell could be your starting point guard. That's not bad when you go Davion Mitchell, Gary Trent, Fred VanVleet, Bagley, and then Chris Boucher. Who knows what that team, looks like in a couple years. So maybe throw a pick. At this point, if the Kings are going on, you might as well trade some picks and get, because it might take a pick to get Siakam and obviously, I don't know, if it's De'Aaron, a 1-for-1 De'Aaron Ben Simmons would make, if like the Sacramento was really high on Ben Simmons, then, maybe throw, if they were really high on Ben Simmons, then maybe you offer up DeAndre Fox. If they were, I would say no, but, it's Sacramento, so you have no idea what's going to happen with them, because now they actually have some assets, and they haven't had they haven't been great with assets previously. So, or coaches, which is why I, for one, am a little worried because this is like they actually have something to work with here, as opposed to just having a really shitty roster and just losing. They have like potential, and they were like missed a playing game by a couple games, and so this is the season for Sacramento. I'm rooting for them. I'll be honest. I like the roster. It's just a matter of if they can get all together or make that one move that puts them over the top, because I think they could put a legitimate offer in for Pascal or Ben Simmons. Hopefully they don't overdo it. But bringing all the boys back in Sacramento. Go Kings. Thanks for listening. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this. If there are any Sacramento fans out there talking, Kings basketball. We gave you Kyle Draper on the broadcast. Was not my favorite, I'll be honest. I did not love him in Boston. Hopefully maybe he's improved in Sacramento. Best wishes to him. Take care of yourselves. Take it easy. And we'll see you next time.